Hello and welcome to another episode of National Department of Joy. I'm your host, BCB4, and we're here today bringing you another episode of Let's Build Tropic Islands. Last episode, we built these two little islands with two mountains. Here are some shots of them to just remind you of that. We sloped them. We gave them some nice smooth rolling hills. I think I have to go back and fix the first one we built. I don't think we smoothed that nearly as much. We also built the beautiful waterfall and talked about how great the adventure pack from Frontier Games is. It's such an amazing pack because look at that waterfall. It is absolutely stunning in this slow-mo, and I can't be more pleased with how it turned out. I'm looking forward to decorating with some rocks, getting the vegetation in, and of course the very first denizen of our tropic islands, our janitor, here for I'm not sure what purposes, maybe scaling, maybe just to hang out, but right now he's kind of hanging in. He seems to be stuck in the terrain. This episode we're going to be creating a new island, one that we laid out the ground plan or the footprint of in the previous episode that we didn't get to. We're going to be using our same flattening tool, and we're going to also get into some texture painting. We didn't do that in the last episode, but I think that's really important to getting the suggestions that we're trying to pull off, the ideas we're trying to convey about the land that we're in. So here we go. Again, we start with raising the terrain probably to the ideal height, and then we go straight into the flatten tool. We pretty much do the rest of the work of shaping this mountain with the flat tool. And I shouldn't say most of it, we literally shape the entire mountain with the flatten tool. You also notice that I make this mountain with basically no ground level or like sea level-ish, if in air quotes, sea level flat areas. Like the previous one has that little valley in between the two spots. This one is going to have none. I want to force players to create some like elevated paths, following some of the slopes I make onto the plateaus, and I want them to create rides up on the peaks of the mountains and in other places, and not just kind of have the mountain as this backdrop to the rest of the park, but really incorporate it. And hopefully they do incorporate this, because this map's going to be fairly large and they're going to have a lot of islands to pick from. So hopefully they get to use this, and I think even if it's just the host of one mega coaster or whatnot, it will be a really cool park, a part of the park to play in. One thing I wanted to do was fix how the kind of coasts of this island were shaping. It seemed very brushed out, just using the flattening tool to create the oceans and then create the landmass. It didn't look very natural and whatnot. So I was creating some beaches here. We were creating some different slopes, some cliffed areas that were just going to be inaccessible to players, and then some other places where they could build up a little port or like some towns, a little bit of the rides. And I also wanted to give them some paths of the ground, like some of the natural slope paths, again to aid them in traversing the mountain, getting paths and getting guests up to the higher parts of the mountain. Because for me, again, nothing looks worse than a bunch of elevated paths just kind of all over the place. And I like when my paths are to the ground. You won't see these 80-foot tall platform paths in any park anywhere in the world. And if we're going for something naturalistic, you need to consider that you're only going to probably see maybe at most 10 feet to 20 feet of an elevated platform, and it's not going to get much higher than that until it hits some kind of structure, some kind of solid foundation like ground or a building or whatnot. So that's something to think about when you're planning is would I see this kind of path in real life? If you're going for some ultra realistic and kind of hyper realistic parks, which I like to do. I don't like to do parks that seem not to scale or to like not just wouldn't work outside of a game where physics came in and out of whether the laws of physics were applied or not. You know, it's very hit or miss with the laws of physics in this game sometimes, and not really. Like everyone did a fantastic job. I've created some little like port areas, some places where I think players could transfer from one island to another, or build up a little like town, island, resort, whichever. And so now that I'm done those beaches, they're sticking out like a sore thumb being green. Grass in the ocean is just weird to me, or at least, I mean, I think I'm probably not the only one that grass in the ocean would be weird, where it'd be predominantly sand. So that's a long-winded way of saying we're painting now. We're doing the texture painting. And really, I can't imagine it turning out better. I'm really thankful that this texture paint is here, because it just makes things pop that much more. I can suggest the depth of a beach, how long a beach is, how wide a beach is, and when we get into the rocks, they really pop, because I use the second rock texture there, and we just add it, and it really, here we go, and you see all of a sudden the cliffs just read so much clearer. They really pop out. They're contrasting with the grass, with the dirt so well. And I even noticed that the bump maps cover the hard edges of some of the polygons in the landscape. For those of you who don't know, a bump map is the PNG file, the image file that tells your graphics processor how light bounces off an object. Bump map work is really cool, and my little bit of work in asset development, bump mapping was a huge challenge, but it's so rewarding. It's just what makes everything look real. And we added that little dried out waterfall, dried out creek kind of path thing there. I thought that was a nice little touch. Yes, we're just going around, adding in the cliffs to really reinforce that these are rocks here. Don't walk here. That's another part of what I'm doing here, is I'm trying to reinforce where I want players to go with their paths, or where I'm suggesting they can do whatever they want. This is going to be a sandbox map, so they can go anywhere. They can destroy the terrain. They can literally obliterate all of these islands if they want. It's up to them. But my hope is that I'm creating maps for people that don't have the time or skill or energy to make terrain like this, so that they can create parks in these varying different places. I think that's one thing the game really lacks. When I want to open a challenge map, I'm just always presented with the same flat land. And the problem with that is that I don't want to spend the money in game to at the start of my game in challenge to build up the landscape that I want to pretend I'm buying, if we can consider like the role playing here. I'm a developer, a theme park developer, and I just bought land. I'm not going to build a mountain in a flat field that I just bought. I'm going to buy a mountain, and I think that's lacking in this game, and I want to give people more opportunities to play in varying kinds of places, and I hopefully am going to be am successful at doing that. I hope people enjoy these maps, and if you have maps, if you have assets and stuff you'd like us to take a look at, please send those along. Put the links into the comments. Find me on Steam. Find me on the Paradox the Frontier forums, and share what you've got, because I'd love to see them, and I'd love to talk about them and maybe review them here on the channel. Who knows? There's lots of different things we can do with the channel. I'm going to focus a lot on terrain. We're going to do buildings though. We're going to do asset development maybe, if I can get into this theme maker workshop, if I can find time to get into the theme maker development workshop. I do know Blender a little bit, and I'd love to get into more asset creation, but I'm also very busy in my personal life and professional life. Plus, I have just decided to invest a bunch of time into making YouTube videos about a video game. Speaking of video games and YouTube videos and just what a cool announcement about Planet Coaster, really awesome to hear that Planet Coaster is coming to Xbox in 2020. I think that's amazing. So excited to share this game with a whole new user base who are going to have a very particular set of abilities and skills that they can apply to it because of using controllers and whatnot. I'm excited to see what happens with the UI and how the UI is interacted with on a controller like console kind of setting. I'm curious what kind of quality of life updates we're going to get on the PC version to that aid the port over. And I'm going to probably hopefully do a quick video sometime this week about that announcement, but I'm very excited to hear that. If you haven't heard about that and you haven't been able to get Planet Coaster because you don't have an a computer and you have an Xbox, that's great news because Planet Coaster is coming to Xbox and it's going to be really cool. And with that, I want to thank everyone again for coming and joining me again today on another episode of the National Department of Joy. I thought this island turned out lovely. That path down that dried out waterfall, the slope terrain, the different plateaus. I like that this is a more prominent mountain compared to the other two. It's got a great scale. I think I did a great job. I'm going to reward myself and say, you did a great job, BCB. With that, and again, the texture painting just really polishes it all off, cleans everything up, gives that sense of change in land, because land is not static, and land changes all the time, and it's constantly eroding and it's constantly evolving around us, and so, look at that. That's really great. I'm so excited to see what people produce, what I can produce on this, because I'm obviously going to build a park on this at some point. But again, this is mostly for sharing with you all. Thank you again so much for being here. Have a great day. Stay safe. Have fun.